All right. Uh, Name is Ben Burgess. I am here at Give Them an Argument with my good friends Ryan Lake, J. Andrew World, and Forrest Miller. So we can talk about a movie from 1990, the Heaven movie, called Total Recall. So before we all get our asses to the plot summary, let's any initial thoughts about this film?
I actually saw this whenever I turned 13. It was my tradition for a while was to go see Schwarzenegger flicks with my dad for my birthday, and this was my 13th birthday one. It was at this little second-run movie theater at the edge of town in Texas. It was like this big old theater. It was always fun to see movies there. They right before I saw the movie, though, Schwarzenegger was on Arsenio Hall, and I remember Schwarzenegger was just like, in the movie, we have a woman with 3 breasts, and I was like, I wish I had 3 hands. And then they had the line in the movie, and I was just so mad at him for so long for that. But I forgave him.
They didn't make him play the saxophone on Arsenio Hall. I feel like that.
Yeah. I'm just glad that Schwarzenegger. He's glad that Schwarzenegger honed in on the most important part of the film.
That's great.
Yeah. The job is so good. It looked like there was 3 of them.
I think it's my favorite Verhoeven line so far is when he shoots Sharon Stone, and he goes, consider this a divorce.
Yes. Might be one of, it's hard because Schwarzenegger gets so many good lines in so many movies, but it's up there. It's a top contender for sure.
In general, it was kind of strange, like seeing this so soon after RoboCop and Starship Troopers, since there are definitely elements of that when they're watching news and commercials that does feel like those other 2 movies. But it's like this really weird combination of the feel of a more standard, like Verhoeven science fiction movie like that, with something very different.
Well, that's probably Cronenberg, because Dan O'Bannon wrote the original script, which kicked around Hollywood for a while, and then Cronenberg got a hold of it, and he brought in the mutants and all that stuff. That's all from the Cronenberg's drafts. So
Nice.
So the movie went through a bunch of drafts. I don't think Cronenberg is on the credits, but he had a few ideas that about the mutants that followed through to the finished film, because Verhoeven loved the mutant stuff that Cronenberg wrote.
Okay, yeah. So so Cronenberg, if you watched the that Rick and Morty episode from, was it season 1, where they keep talking about like Cronenberging up the world. When everybody has strange mutations, so Cronenberg up Total Recall.
Pretty much.
I listened to the audiobook version of the Philip K. Dick original short story, and it's an hour-long audiobook, and it's really funny that it's like, it's kind of the first 20 minutes of the movie, where he goes to like Total Recall, and like the and like has the memory implanted, like it's just that, and it's like super bare bones. So it's interesting seeing like how far they kind of took it, because the short story like kind of stops at a point where like it doesn't really go anywhere, and like he's kind of just like taken back to Total Recall and has like another memory like implanted in his head, and it kind of just ends there. So it's kind of funny to think like, when a script is being written, like where can they take it from there? And then they take it to obviously like I don't know, just like there's some super crazy places, I feel like, for the movie. But so that was an interesting.
No, that is interesting. Like, it is very weird that there are so many Hollywood movies based on Philip K. Dick, who wrote very, very, very uncinematic books and short stories, like of all the science fiction writers, who like could have become like that figure who like there's movie after movie, based on him. It's like really weird and random that it's him. And like there's basically, out of all of these movies, there's basically one of them that actually feels anything like the source material, which is Scanner Darkly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is the one that Dan O'Bannon didn't write. Dan O'Bannon, after Alien, like bought like the rights to a bunch of Philip K. Dick stories and wrote scripts. So you got this one. You got Screamers, which is I know, Ben, I've talked to you about that one before, which is a really good film. And I'm trying to remember. There's another one he did, and I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah,
it's interesting that that we've been doing like these streams and we haven't like really planned it out. Like obviously like we've gone in first like the Scorsese direction, and then we kind of went with RoboCop. So we've been doing the Verhoeven thing, and then we did our Scanner Darkly stream. So it's interesting that like all these movies seem to be like interrelated in different ways, but like we're not planning out we're not really planning out like which ones we're doing when, and so just finding all these connections is definitely funny.
Yeah, I mean, I should say too, like some of these are wonderful movies, like Blade Runner. But if you, I mean, I think it's actually a very common problem that when people, think that like, oh, I've heard a lot about this guy Philip K. Dick, I'm going to go check out one of his books, and since everybody loves Blade Runner, the book that they'll read is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is what Blade Runner was based on. And tonally, it's absolutely nothing like it, and they're and like oftentimes it's kind of confusing. It's like, wait, what's this?
We've got to do a Blade Runner stream, and then we've got to do a stream like we did with Wise Guy, where we kind of read the book together and do a stream on it. I feel like that would be a fun.
Yeah, I absolutely. I love both. The book is amazing, and the movie's amazing. It's like one of my favorite movies. But yeah, they are just so radically different, aside from some structural similarities, or some plot similarities, and some characters with the same names, but otherwise it's just so different.
No, exactly. It's like which is the usual Philip K. Dick thing. I mean, I know he said somewhere that he, someday he wished somebody would make a movie of one of his ideas and not the special effects of one of his ideas. Which, in particular, of course, because the sort of basic science fiction architecture is the least original part of his books, that's it's like, oh yeah, that you've got like androids running around or whatever. I mean, that's not that interesting or innovative. But yeah, it's the strangeness and the paranoia, and like in the book, there's the universal vegetarianism, which I guess, to be fair, comes up for like 30 seconds in the movie, but it's definitely blink and you miss it. There's the whole it's not really that clear like in the movie that or they it's there, but I mean that like it's really not emphasized that the whole point of what's being tested is empathy. And certainly like all of the like wonderful stuff like the the religion that everybody's doing, Mercerism, where you
the Mercerism stuff is so great in the book, and that's just like absent from the movie.
Right, which is again, that's why I really want to see like the Richard Linklater animated, like Dream of Electric Sheep.
It would be great.
Because when everybody's doing this like immersive VR thing, identifying with with Mercer as people are throwing stones at him, as a religious ritual, and everybody orders up the mood that they want for the day on like the mood organ at the beginning. And if you can't think of if you don't have any particular desire to dial up any particular mood, there's like a number that you dial to form the desire to dial it up.
I'm always imagine just throwing rocks at Robert Mercer when I think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of the Linklater thing, the first thing I saw when I pulled into Austin, or when I got out of Maria's car in Austin, and went to lunch, there's the big mural of Slacker, the main character from Slacker, that someone had drawn on this outside of this taco truck. So I was thinking about Linklater's movies.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a really weird combination because there's a core of the plot, right, of Total Recall that okay, you can see the Philip K. Dick in, since there's uncertainty about what's really happening. And that's about it. And then
it felt like a prompt, like somebody, like pretty much it was like a writing prompt, and it was like,
right.
oh, like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, write a screenplay that's like that like you're prompted into it from the original story, but like
write a story about memory implants in Mars. Go.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then, like, on top of that, there's the like Verhoeven sort of like usual creepy science fiction comedy, which is going on a little bit. But then on top of it, it just kind of feels like a Schwarzenegger action movie more than anything else.
Yeah, it's a Schwarzenegger vehicle, I think. Like,
you don't put Schwarzenegger in something where it's not going to be a Schwarzenegger film. I mean,
yeah,
I've watched them try a couple of times. Like some of his more recent movies, like Aftermath, which is a slog and one of Schwarzenegger's best performances, but the movie doesn't quite it's there's not enough there to recommend that movie, to be honest with you. I mean, as much as I love Schwarzenegger, and like I said, he was fantastic in it as a grieving father and husband. Very different performance for him, but like normally, like you want Schwarzenegger to be Schwarzenegger, you don't want anything else. You can play around with it a little, like Kindergarten Cop or True Lies, but it's still at the core Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
He pushed hard for Total Recall to get made too, right? Like this was a something for some reason he was specifically passionate about.
Yeah, well, I think he liked the Cronenberg script, even though Cronenberg had left the project at that point.
Fair enough. So Forrest, you want to get us started on the plot?
Yeah, I gotta pull up a plot summary, but it's really, I feel like I'm back in the beginning of this because I don't have like my second screen on vacation with me. So usually I have the second screen going at the same time. So yeah, so it begins with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Douglas Quaid, I guess, is his name in this.
Not
kind
Quail like the book.
Yeah, not Quail like the book. And he's having a dream about, which, I think for the entire movie they're playing with this whole idea of dreams and reality and like recall and like I don't know, I just really thought like some of the wordplay or like wordplay with that was kind of fantastic at times. But
that jingle.
Yeah,
so he gets in your head.
Little jingle. Yeah. It's like instantly already playing with the ambiguity, like whether inviting you to be confused about what's real and what's supposed to be in the dream, like right from that.
And you get further and further into like that confusion because like, the big question that everyone's always asked is like, was all of this kind of a dream? And like, so it's like, I thought that was kind of cool because I watched it, I think twice in the last week. And like the first time I just kind of assumed that it was actually happening. But then, like looking into like Verhoeven's like, oh, is it a dream? Is it reality? Like you never quite know.
Yeah.
Well, Cole James Cash answered that for us today. So
no, that's true. I was on the Cole James Cash show earlier, and he stated very emphatically, like I think he just asked at the end, it's like, oh, so you're talking about Total Recall tonight, right? I was like, yeah, and he said, well, it's none of that's happening, right? Like he was very emphatic that it's all.
Okay.
That he never leaves the Total Recall simulator.
Yeah, so he settled it.
I'm with him on this actually, especially after just rewatching it yesterday. It'd been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, on the rewatch, I'm pretty convinced he sits down in the chair and then the rest of that's just in his head.
But why are we seeing things from the perspective of Richter?
Yeah, so that's like one of the. So I think the case against that is that there are a bunch of scenes that he's not in, right?
Sure.
After he leaves, right?
Sure.
There are a bunch of scenes from other characters' points of view, and then also, I mean, we're skipping way ahead in the plot here, but there's a crucial scene which I mean, whatever. This is not incompatible, with it all being a simulation. But certainly in that moment in the movie, it seemed to be designed to get you to think that it was not, where somebody tells him that he's still in the simulation, and that and Schwarzenegger says, well, okay, I mean, so if I shoot you, right, that won't matter, right? And he's very blustery in response, like it's not totally convincing about why it matters that, if he shoots him, if he's still in the simulation. And then they do the close up and you see the sweat on his neck,
Well,
like
no, he says, because I was just watching this part of it, I was like rewatching the middle of it. No, he says that it's gonna break Schwarzenegger's mind pretty much if he shoots him, because he's the only person that can, and he's the guy that because he's which brings us to the beginning of it. He's the guy in the advertisement that's supposed to be like the doctor that invented the recall machine. But he says that Schwarzenegger's gonna go into like a psychotic episode, and he's not gonna be able to get out of the dream if he shoots him. But that also kind of would align with the idea, I guess, that he never really leaves the simulator, because he does shoot the guy and the guy dies, and then if he's still kind of within the psychotic break and never actually leaves the machine, he's pretty much lobotomized. Like it would make sense that he shoots him and then he's like incapable of being guided out of the machine.
Because the next line, like while he's saying this, he's like, you're if you continue on, you're going to be friends with Dick from RoboCop. That was the exact line, right?
Yeah.
Killed the reading.
Yeah.
There's a theory that that I guess Starship Troopers and Total Recall are in the same universe. So like people have found dug up all this evidence that I guess would suggest that like Verhoeven's movies are all kind of in the same universe, and I don't know.
That kind of fits. Yeah, but no, I mean, also from that scene, which for me it suggests the dream hypothesis. Like when I was watching it this time, like he shoots the guy and then it immediately explodes into this like cartoonish violent scene. Like the wall explodes, guys bust in and start shooting everything, and suddenly his wife is ninja fighting him, and like just like it's very dreamlike. Like immediately after he shoots the guy.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it's 90%. He's still in the simulator, but I guess the reason that seemed to me to be suggesting that he wasn't is one, the idea that this specific thing talking to him in there right now was somehow like the one shot at getting out of it seemed a little weird. I mean, I don't know. I guess it sort of reminded me of the thing in Shutter Island. You have 48 hours to become sane, or we'll lobotomize you.
Yeah, this is just how a schizoid embolism works. This is
it's in the DSM or whatever that thing's called.
It's not in the DSM yet. We'll understand this in the future.
Also, the way that he gives him, the way that he has the pill in his hand, and he's like, "Oh, like this is a symbol that you're willing to get, like basically like treated, like that you're willing to leave the dream." Yeah. That doesn't really make sense in any way, shape, or form. Like symbolically, like that's not how dreams work. And
he is predicting the Matrix.
I was just gonna say, how amazing that red pilling was a thing way before the Matrix, like 9 years before the Matrix. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then again, there's the question of like why, the fact that he's sweating, and I don't know. I wasn't it seemed like in the moment it was suggesting that it was all really happening. Although also, the guy makes some really good points in that scene. It's like this is a hell of a coincidence, right? Everything you said you wanted, has really happened to you.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. It's like when he sits down in the chair at the beginning, like the doctor who describes the scenario he's going to get after they turn it on, basically describes the plot of the whole movie.
Also, when he's like, no, she's real. Like she was in my dream, and he's like, you hear yourself, like she's real because she was in the dream. That's right. And it's like logically speaking, like you can't. Yeah. You can't.
Sounds like someone with a schizoid embolism. I mean,
So I guess to go through the plot, while we're talking about the dream sequence parts of it, so it starts out with he's dreaming about going on Mars, and he's with Milena, I think is her name. So he's with her, and they're walking through Mars, and you know, I mean, I guess if you're going with like a more realistic, like, you know, this is something that actually happened to him theory, it would be that this is like he's dreaming about the first life that he had as a secret agent. But so he wakes up in bed next to Sharon Stone, who I still cannot trust in any capacity after watching Casino.
That was also a that was Cole's other thought about the movie, that it was just a shared universe thing, that her character in this movie is a descendant of Ginger.
See, I want to hear Cole's take on Quick and the Dead.
How that fits into this universe. I actually watched Quick and the Dead not that long ago, so yeah, that'd be an interesting discussion.
That was on my recommendation, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. It's.
That's not Verhoeven, is it?
No,
that's Sam Raimi.
I was gonna say, okay, so not in the same universe.
Although I kind of want to see Verhoeven's version of the Quick and the Dead.
I'd love to see anybody's version of it, because like it's such a great, like, you know, set, you know, just it's a cowboy movie. It's everything you want in a cowboy movie, and with like a bunch of really great character actors. And like, it's got enough there in the script to let all the actors and directors do whatever the hell they want. And so, you know, Sam Raimi was going crazy with his zooms and you know, what would somebody else do who was also a very visual director like Raimi. But anyways, that's a whole other.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, the Verhoeven version, I guess, would have to be like West. It would have to be like some sort of like Westworld setup or something, so they could have advertisements for the contest. You know,
Schwarzenegger almost wasn't a remake of Westworld.
Oh,
he was going to be the Man in Black.
All right. Interesting thought. All right, sorry, Forrest.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, just to, you know, get us on track for this, I guess. You know, it was kind of crazy. Like the next part of the movie, obviously, he's watching TV, and they're talking about the Martian or the Mars colony, and you know the mutant, the mutants that are fighting back against, you know, the colonists and the company that's kind of extracting, you know, like the minerals. And it was really crazy thinking about, like, as much as I have about like Israel and Palestine lately, and then thinking about, like, you know, the way that they're talking about the mutant rebels that are fighting against this corporation. It was just like a weird, because the same day that I was watching Total Recall was the same day that this stuff was happening with, you know, us doing the Q&A and me trying to find out about like Biden's response to the ceasefire. So it kind of was like so when he's watching those news stories, it almost feels like he's watching like a story about, you know, something happening in like the Middle East or something. And so
which I always felt like it never Verhoeven movies usually are a little more political, and this one isn't really that much. You know, not like in the way RoboCop or Starship Troopers was.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the things are similar to RoboCop, like, you know, evil corporatists who control, like, but like in an extreme way.
But it's like all on the side. You know, it doesn't really pull it forward like RoboCop was, where
it's not at the core of the plot the way it was in RoboCop, but it's still there. I mean, you have billionaire who literally owns the air and can just starve people of air, right, to make more money.
It felt very Elon Musk, like, you know, thinking everyone has about Elon Musk, like talking positively about the, you know, colonizing Mars, which, you know, the whole thing is that there wouldn't be any kind of earthly law. Like billionaires would kind of be able to control those laws, because suddenly you're not on a place where, you know, that like the UN or any like, you know, international body would really exist. So
it's just whoever owns the literal ingredients for life.
Which has always been my take on the idea that, like, this sort of Musk fantasy, you know, Mars colonies would happen. It's like, how awesome is that you know, you'd be living in like a 19th century company town, except it would be literally impossible to leave, and you know, would have way more control over you.
Well, the good news, though, is that finally it would be a actual future that we could we've seen in science fiction, like in Total Recall and the Mars trilogy by
Jim Stanley Robinson.
Yes, and The Expanse, where, you know, Mars went you know, Mars went you know, separate from Earth after a revolution before the show. So You know, if Elon Musk does run Mars, you know, that's the future we will eventually see. We will have socialism once we rise up against Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, an interesting thing though about you know, Elon Musk's version of politics, I think, is that, you know, this kind of dystopic techno futurism, I guess, politically is always kind of terrifying, and yet it kind of gets like, you know, we have politicians like Andrew Yang, who kind of feels like the political arm of the future that Elon Musk wants, like between, you know, like UBI and like and you know, just these different kind of like extremely depressing, like, you know what, like we've lost the world at this point. Like the only, you know, the only future is to like colonize Mars and then give people like enough to like maybe basically survive somewhat, but it's not a progressive project in the sense of like society progressing. It's kind of like a, you know, it feels like we've actually lost everything, and these billionaires and people like Yang and these like techno futurists are just admitting at this point that we've lost the ability to even like function on a basic level. So
and we have, because we just gave Bezos $9 billion for a space program.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. God.
Yeah.
That's not even the worst thing I read today.
But so I guess continuing with our, you know, plot thing. So we kind of see you know, Dennis Quaid's life, and you know, he's a construction worker, and he works on like government projects pretty much, and he's like riding the subway, and he sees the Total Recall like commercial with the jingle and everything, and he talks to his friend, and his friend is like, oh well, you know, the last time someone was there, they like or my friend was there, and they basically like lobotomized him at Total Recall, and you know, Dennis Quaid is still like you know, he's like he's just obsessed with this idea of trying to solve this dream and going to Mars. So he decides to basically go there anyway. And from the beginning, you can tell it's kind of I mean, it's sketchy. It's sketchy as hell.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean, the first guy he encounters really feels like a used car salesman. Like, you want you want the bigger tires on this thing? Like, come on, it's just a few hundred more.
And he's trying to sell them.
Yeah. So so the Total Recall thing, be clear, is that since he can't afford to go to Mars, or really, I think it's just they can't convince Sharon Stone to, you know, to go to Mars, whatever combination of that.
Well, it's alluded to. It's a money thing. It's like he doesn't really have the money or for whatever. I mean, they make it almost sound like it's a physical thing that like, oh, he can't, like, he's not going to ever be able to go to Mars. Like they would never let him physically either. I don't.
Yeah, although I think Sharon Stone does. You know, maybe I'm getting two things that are mixed up, but I think she does float the idea of they could have a trip to Venus at some point. I don't know if that's more affordable somehow.
They can have a trip to Zagaba Beach. Yeah.
The other thing too is that it seemed like Schwarzenegger's, you know, Quaid was like out of work for a while, and this is his first actual job, which apparently has chiseled him into a god of men. With the jackhammer,
which is also like, yeah, I mean, he's very like the opening of the movie. He's extremely dissatisfied with his life, where he has what seems to be a pretty good job. They're living in a really spacious apartment. He's married to Sharon Stone. You know, she's willing to go to Zaga Beach with him. You know, like it doesn't. You know, on the face of it, you can make a case that, you know, that he doesn't have it that bad, but you know, he it's really important to him. Because these dreams possibly, or just his general sense of dissatisfaction, or both, that they go to Mars, and so he has to convince the guy at the Total Recall simulator that's what he wants to do, and he picks this. He picks specifically that in this story. So the way the simulator works is, since he can't go for real. The way that they initially presented, and the way that what the title would indicate, is that they just give you the memory of having done it. Although it really seems like it's not just the memory; it's that you have like a sustained experience.
Yeah,
of doing it.
Well, it's like the experiential, you know, like experiential products to the max. Like, you know what I mean? Like the kind of the vacation package, but it's interesting. Like the guy says, when people actually like have these memories, they're hazy and like, like there's all these inconsistencies. And when they implant the memory within you in this, like there are no inconsistencies because they're basically just giving you like an experiential product that you're going to like. But then they also, I don't know, I can't remember if it's in the movie and the book, but like in the book, like they talk about, or the short story, they talk about how they basically also give you something to like prove to you that you went, which is kind of interesting because like
it's in the movie. They got the it's like, oh, we have a gift shop where you can get which I think the movie was like Dead Worms or something. I mean the book and he never picks anything out of the gift shop for the for the film.
Yeah, he never gets out of the chair.
Yeah, so it's presented as he hasn't even been like he hasn't even been implanted with his memory experience, whatever's going on there, they haven't even gone to that point yet, and he busts out because plot twist, he really is the secret agent, and
what a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. And then he eventually figures out that that there are what he thinks is his real life is implanted memories, and really Sharon Stone and his.
And it seems like he's only had this life for 6 weeks. Like she says at one point, like, "Oh, I've only known you for 6 weeks," which would imply that he went to Mars as a secret agent like really recently. Like everything that's kind of been implanted with him, and the kind of the fact that he's like a secret agent, like he's given like this government construction worker contractor job, which like they claim is a real job, but then the guy that originally told him that his friend got lobotomized is obviously somehow working for that agency and like put there to watch him. So it's kind of like there's just so many levels to to the deception if you are reading it in a straightforward way.
Which, because I saw this movie when I was 13 in the theater, that man is always going to be Mario to me.
Yeah. Which by the way is kind of another movie that kind of fits into this weird like 90s corporate like corporate kind of like plot that was that they kind of ran through over and over and over again throughout the 90s, like like this big enterprise that he has to get fought against, and the victory in the end. Like I don't know, like I remember Mario is such a weird Super Mario Brothers is such a weird movie, the way that they made it. But like
13-year-old me was so crushed by that movie.
I'll never forget the Goomba heads. That remind me of Beetlejuice, where he it's the same.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't know. We've gotten so far out of just going through the plot in a straightforward way. But
we don't need to be linear. It's
well, Ryan, you've never left the chair, so
exactly. It's all a dream. How linear can it be?
Yeah, no. I mean, I was on. I was on my friend's show, and no, it's like a political show, but they like he has me on to talk about movies, and no, it was bad from grad school. That's who it is, and we're talking about Total Recall, and yeah, no, it all makes sense. All right, so let's see. So we kind of gotten, if you could find this in the summary, we'd sort of gotten up to the point of he is, let's just talk this way for now for the sake of convenience. He's found out that these are all implanted memories.
Yeah, and so he's found out these are all kind of implanted memories, and Sharon Stone, he finds out that's not really his wife. She's another agent hired by this agency, and she's apparently Richter's wife or old lady or whatever, however they put it in it. And they come like attack him, which kind of interestingly enough is where the book kind of ends. I mean, the story kind of ends. You know what I mean? Like the realization that like he is a secret agent, and they come into his house, and so he kind of defeats. He all of a sudden has like these fighting, like Arnold Schwarzenegger style fighting powers, where it just kicks back in and like his muscle memory, and he's able to just overthrow all of these agents and punch the guns out of their hand, and then
sounds very dreamlike.
Yeah, punches Sharon Stone, which is like it's
he doesn't even get a black eye, so it's obviously a dream.
Yeah. So yes, they're trying to follow him to erase his memory, and he wakens in the Johnny Cab, which are the Johnny Cab driver is supposed to be Don Knotts, right? Like that's who it's based off of that I think, but
I can see it.
Yeah.
Johnny Cab was a nice touch, like the communication sort of felt like proto Siri, lots of I don't understand. What do you mean?
So
damn it, Siri, just drive.
Yeah, so he's fighting off all these agents first through his his friend, that his coworker that was basically placed there that stops him, and then he goes home and he has to fight. He fights off Sharon Stone and all of those other agents. They just kind of keep coming at him, and then he wakes up in the Johnny Cab, and he gets to this garage, and he sees himself as a video message pretty much, where he's explaining that he's fighting back against the agency and the company that is colonizing Mars. And he's talking to himself about how he's supposed to fight back there, and then there's a guy with a briefcase who tells him to put a towel over his head. I don't know. This part of it kind of was, it all happened at once, and it's almost like overwhelming, because all of a sudden he's it's gone from like a pretty linear story to like all of this like all of the action scenes happening at once, which kind of is the part of it that's like making him a vehicle for for Arnold Schwarzenegger. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, because the Colin Farrell version was terrible.
I never even watched it. I mean, why would you remake a perfect movie?
I know. I watched it because I was curious how bad it was, and I can't remember anything about that movie. It was just terminally boring. As great as Colin Farrell can be, it's just like, nah. Dude, nah. Although I never watched the 90s TV series.
Oh, there was a 90s TV series of Total Recall?
Yeah, it lasted like one season, if I remember correctly.
I was not aware of this.
Oh, man. I think, if I remember correctly, the guy from My Two Dads was in it. Double check. I might be confusing that with the Tech War series, which was the William Shatner.
So he basically arrives on Mars, which we don't really see him like. They don't make a big deal about him getting to Mars, like getting off Earth or like Terra and getting to Mars. He just kind of shows up on Mars, and the agents are all kind of there at the same time. And so everybody on Mars are basically mutants that kind of work there, and it's like this two class situation where there's the CIA style agency that are all working for Cohagen, who's the guy that runs the mining. Who runs the mine on Mars, and then everyone else is pretty much deformed from not getting enough air, which I'm not quite sure why the mix of that and chemicals kind of makes people have like everything from 3 breasts to like faces that are partially off, to which is the Cronenberg. Yeah, so it's this the mutant leader named Quado is fighting against Cohagen's mining company, and which is like mixed in with the CIA style agency. He like runs both for whatever reason. Seems to run the government and the main company. And so Quaid arrives at like a hotel. I don't know. Anyone have anything to throw into this? I feel like I'm kind of trying to go through it, and
I don't know. I found out the show was called Total Recall 2070. It was on in 1999, and Michael Easton was the star, who's apparently like a soap guy and was in like a bunch of bad Canadian TV shows.
Okay, wow. That totally I missed that completely.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, we're all watching it now, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're gonna do like an episode by episode breakdown, like The Sopranos.
The next several weeks will just be episode by episode breakdown.
How many episodes they made?
22.
All right, next 22 weeks are this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I guess the big thing that we skipped, right? In the plot summary, you're up to them actually being on Mars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the big thing that we skipped that's significant is that he is getting communication from his own past self, telling him to get his ass to Mars.
Pull it out.
Yeah.
Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. Get your ass to Mars.
Yeah,
he's like
this was actually one of my favorite elements of the movie, just from like a sci-fi philosophical perspective. Like that, the interplay between him and the alleged other version of himself, if we assume the whole thing is real.
Yeah.
That
Hauser.
Hauser. The interaction between Quaid and Hauser like really raises really cool personal identity questions. Like, to what extent is Quaid Hauser, especially to jump ahead, like later on when they sort of become antagonists, and he's battling against Hauser. You really get the feeling that these are two distinct individuals, and that they're going to, they're trying to kill Quaid to bring back Hauser.
No, exactly.
And you get that feeling more throughout the later in the movie that because it's not really clear. It's not even really clear who Hauser's working for. I mean, at the end, you realize he's working for Cohagen, but he kind of just pops up, and then he's like, "Oh well, you know a lot of stuff about what's going on with this, Martian mining company, and you have enough information to bury them, but now they're coming after you." And so he puts himself kind of as like the fighting for the rebels, and fighting as the hero in this. But
So when we first find this out, right, that the Quaid Hauser distinction, that he's getting instructions from his past self, it feels like, they're the same person. He just has memory loss. And you even sort of half expect that as the movie goes on, he'll get his memories back. But then eventually they seem to be, it seems to be the case that again, assuming that all this happened, that in wiping his memory and doing whatever they did to set him up for all this, that they created a new person, so that if they,
so it really speaks to like a sense of identity that's not connected to memories, but to like basic moral character and motives and goals and interests. So like you initially assume they're aligned in those things. So you're like, okay, it's the same person, just lost his memories, but you later realize they're actually very different kinds of people.
Yeah.
It makes them feel like distinct individuals.
Which, I mean, in the book version of it, I think that the Philip K. Dick story does a much better job explaining that, the way that they've created, like the new person, they've kind of made him docile. And kind of they made him compliant and docile, and they've completely changed his personality from being like this agent that's extremely like cruel and ready to really just assassinate people and trained like this. They've kind of turned him into like this docile bureaucratic worker, which obviously doesn't really come through because number one, I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger necessarily has the nuance to pull off like those two characters. So his character.
Have you seen True Lies?
Good point. Also a fantastic movie.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So he's on Mars. And he seems to have left in a hotel safe just a flyer for this brothel, and with the name Melina scribbled on it. Who ends up being the woman that he's been dreaming of in the dreams in the beginning. And it's just kind of funny to see like the guy hand him the safe, that all there is in it is like a flyer for like a seedy brothel in the middle of this Martian colony, and like they don't really show the guy being confused that like he opens up the safe and it's just like a piece of paper that that says like "Go find Melina" on it.
It's the chopper.
So he goes looking for this brothel, and he finds like this. So there's these taxi drivers that are kind of milling around waiting for the fare, and like
Johnny Cabs haven't made it to Mars.
Yeah, so they still have physical like taxi drivers on Mars, and so the one guy wants his fare, but then there's the second guy that runs it that jacks him from the other guy, and he's like, I have 5 kids to feed, and so he chooses, he's more sympathetic, so he chooses the guy with 5 kids, and they get in there, and he takes him, and this guy just seems like a classic like I guess eager to please / like seedy taxi driver character that's that I feel like are in a lot of 80s and 90s movies that kind of like know all of like the the spots to go to. So he brings them to that brothel. He claims that he knows a much nicer place, and then this is the question, like, hey man, have you ever fucked a mutant? It's just like an odd.
Well, I mean, if you've ever been to Mars, that's what they're always asking you.
Yeah, it is kind of so. I was just looking at the Wikipedia page for the Total Recall 2070 TV show from Canada, so I guess they are running really hard at the sort of like these deep philosophical questions about personal identity. The main character is a police detective named David Hume.
Oh God, we've got to watch this. This is oh God,
I missed that.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yep, David Hume, a CPB detective whose original partner was killed by rogue androids.
His original partner, John Locke.
Just like the real David Hume.
Yeah, no, I don't remember exactly how Hume died, but I think it was something to do with rogue androids.
Yeah.
Hume's law, the most important.
Look, he's Canadian, so he'd be like, Hume's law, eh? I'm sorry.
I really respect, by the way, that Verhoeven like really leans into like the feeling of like the Star Wars cantina style. Like this brothel really feels like that, and like it's just it's like a such a big assortment of like different interesting characters, and I didn't realize it at first, but the guy the guy Tony, like the red the red guy whose face is kind of like melted off is Hank from Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Also in Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because he's
actually there were several cast members from Starship Troopers in this movie. I noticed that too, and from RoboCop too.
Yeah, no, it feels like this is kind of Verhoeven's like he's found out like a group of actors, I guess, or like various actors that he's very comfortable working with, because like the guy that plays Cohagen is obviously Dick Jones from RoboCop.
RoboCop, yeah, that's right.
What's
Michael Ironside's the drill sergeant from Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
this was filmed in Mexico City, and the entire cast and crew, except for Schwarzenegger, because his body is pure, was dealing with food poisoning.
Oh.
So and I think that actually kind of helps everybody, because everybody on Mars looks so beleaguered. And because they all had food poisoning.
Yeah, I mean, so from this point on, it gets. I mean, someone else should probably do the. I don't have a very good like summary in front of me. It kind of just throws out the plot points like one by one in like this jumbled mess, which is why I've kind of had such a hard time going through it.
We've got the key plot point here on the screen.
Yeah, so he goes to the brothel, and it's he meets Melina, finds out a little bit. Well, he thinks at first about his alleged past, helping out the rebels.
With a great line of "What have you been feeding this thing? Blondes."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then very soon, basically, I mean, we can skip ahead a little bit. I actually feel for whoever was trying to write that plot summary that you were saying, got like really disjointed, as it went on.
Yeah. I usually do like the IMDb ones because they kind of usually do a pretty good job of like just kind of breaking down like point by point the plot. But this one kind of just like throws out like disjointed sentences.
Yeah, it kind of gets where they're just kind of running from point A to point B, and then like, and even the taxi driver is just like, "Are we going around in circles?"
Yeah, but basically the sort of big things that happen are that he is he finds out after he sort of gets in enough with the rebels in order to for the original plan by the past version of himself and Cohagen to work. He finds out that in fact the past version of him was not working with the rebels. That the past version of him was always working with Cohagen.
And was like good friends with. He was like Cohagen's kind of second in command, it seems like, and Michael Ironside's kind of filled that role since, but he's kind of, I mean,
it's basically he was the heavy. I mean, essentially, he was Cohagen's heavy, where Michael Ironside is might have been a good soldier and got promoted, but he hasn't quite earned the heavy, title just quite yet.
Oh yeah, we didn't touch on Arnold arriving on Mars dressed as like, or in weird
2 weeks. Yes.
Yeah. As like this bigger like flirty lady, and I think the most perfect scene in the whole movie is when her face starts freaking out, and then you can see that she's clearly doing like an Arnold impression where she's like, and then, like, so her face is freaking out, but then he throws off the head, and it's like it's her, it's still her head, like it's not like he was wearing a mask, like, so it doesn't exactly make sense that she's like mimicking his
Yeah, somehow as it's breaking down, she starts to get more Arnold-like. I'm not. Yeah,
that's my goal in life.
But
so we find out about. So essentially, it's like he's been betrayed by his past self, and they're going to reverse it. They're going to have. They're going to reinstate the original memories, and whatever's going to happen. It's the old version of him who's going to be restored, which at that point feels like killing him. But
I mean, essentially, it's killing him and killing Melina, because they're kind of they claim they're going to make her more compliant, which it kind of syncs up well with the original story, and the fact that the original character is kind of made to be a lot more compliant and subdued. But then obviously they never touch on it with Arnold because it's a vehicle for an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, which I mean, I still say he's not his performances are not meant to be nuanced and like.
Have you seen Maggie? Come on. This is one I'll die on right here. Maggie is Schwarzenegger's best performance, where his daughter gets turned into a zombie. He can do nuance.
Okay. All right. I haven't seen that one, I don't think.
No, trust me. It's actually worth watching. Unlike the one where the plane blows up.
Well, Verhoeven is not really known for nuance either. So it's kind of, which I do have to say, listening through, I don't know, I don't think we necessarily touched on this, but listening through like the Chapo like Lincoln Film Center Starship Troopers watch through that they did when we did Starship Troopers, they were talking about who's really in on the joke, like which characters are in on the joke in Starship Troopers, because it seems like like some of the characters, and in RoboCop as well, like some of the characters are obviously, some of the actors are always playing it straight and don't seem to realize that they're in a satire, like that is a satirical plot, and some really do. And Arnold, more than I think any other actor in any Verhoeven movie we've watched so far, is 100% in on the joke.
Which is one of the things. I mean, the fact that he acts it that way, and like that is one of the things that gives credence to the idea that he never leaves the simulator, that that he's sort of like, he kind of has the affect of somebody who's playing like a really awesome sophisticated video game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
That's like all of his movies in the 80s and 90s, though.
Yeah,
what
so
makes
it
them great.
doesn't necessarily mean anything, but that is something that taken in isolation would make it seem
I
like.
mean, he did that movie with Gabriel Byrne, and Gabriel Byrne brought his son to the set one day, and he's like, "What'd you think? I was beating up Arnold Schwarzenegger," and he goes, "Dad, I could tell you're acting. You can't take Arnold Schwarzenegger."
Yeah. So he's Schwarzenegger's going to have his original personality restored. Melina is going to be, there's some sort of, at the very least, Handmaid's Tale-y personality operation, is going to happen to her. But they bust out.
Before he realizes that he's kind of the villain, I think we skipped over the part where they actually do meet Quado, and he's just like a
he's like a little Muppet on the side of the dude.
Yeah, he's a baby. He's like a animatronic Chucky looking.
No, I mean that was the best Cronenberg thing about it. That as Sela says in the chat. Was a chest burster leading a mutant revolution. The leader of the revolution is this weird baby kind of thing that like bursts out like an alien
garbage pail kid.
And it's funny that they kind of play it like, he doesn't really react to the fact that Arnold doesn't really react to the fact that it's a weird baby. Like he's just at this point he's so like immersed in this either dream reality or just confusing reality, I guess, that he's just willing to accept that Quado is like a strange baby on this guy's chest that just keeps on going, open your mind, open your mind, because being a mutant gives you psychic abilities, which they're implying throughout the whole movie that it's not like kind of at first they have like it's almost like the
Cronenberg extended universe
trope, I guess. But it seems like it's almost like these psychic abilities are almost like the gypsy trope kind of, you know what I mean? Like
scanners. It's Cronenberg, all over. Like his 1980 film, Scanners, where the people have psychic powers. It's got Michael Ironside blowing up.
Also, Michael Ironside.
But I'm
exploding head.
That's in like the first 20 minutes of the film. So I'm not ruining anything for you there.
But it's also not just like the psychic ability, like the extent of their psychic abilities, I guess, up until that point. It kind of seems like it's like these parlor tricks almost, like I can guess what your horoscope sign is, or I can kind of I can do a reading, and it's really it's like the carnival gypsy trope that happens in a lot of these a lot of movies where it's like people kind of standing out there being like, I have psychic abilities, I can see your future, and then they kind of they give you the runaround with it. But it seems like
I was always disappointed with that scene where the girl says what his sign is, and it wasn't Gemini. How did they miss this in the movie? You should totally. You're a Gemini.
Yeah. But right, the Starship Troopers, psychic abilities ad that's literally just like card trick, that's it. Couldn't be more carnival fortune tellery. Okay, so at this point, big. Actually, all right, I'm starting to lose it now. Why is it that Cohaagen?
This might be the hardest movie to explain. That
because it starts off they're at the bar. They go back to the hotel. That's when they kill off Sharon Stone and the doctor, and Michael Ironside actually finally gets his groove on as the bad guy. Up to that point, he really didn't have a drive, and now all of a sudden it's like killed his woman. So he's really mad at this point. But Cohaagen keeps pulling him back. They go back to the bar. They hide in a hidden room. That's when the air gets cut off. They go to make their way out, where then the taxi driver reveals. Then there was this big drill thing going through all the walls, trying to kill them, and they escape that with the taxi driver. The taxi driver then pulls out the gun and kills Quato.
Yeah, which I think one of the best lines in the whole movie is when when the taxi driver reveals that he's working with like he is one of the bad guys, and he's like come on, man, I have 4 kids, and he's like what happened to the 5th one, and he's like, oh man, you know what, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm not even married, and like I just like that.
I just wanted him to go like, we ate him. Got hungry last night.
Yeah. So why is it that Cohagen wants to cut off all the mutants' air?
Well, he doesn't. I mean, I think he just wants to kill those mutants. Like he cuts off there initially to like blackmail them, to be like, you've got to turn over Quaid or how's it you want to call it.
It's like a mutant uprising that they never really dealt with because they don't really delve into a lot of this stuff because the focus of the movie is it real or is it not, as opposed to some kind of blatant political thing.
Yeah, but eventually he just wants to get rid of the mutants because I guess he's worried they're going to activate the alien machine that will turn all of the substance that he's mining into air for.
No, the substance is what's going to turn into air.
That's what I said.
The ice, the core of Mars is a giant ice, is all water. So it's supposed to evaporate it and release the air.
Right.
So you heat up the substance that they're mining. It goes into the core, melts the core, and releases the air.
Right. It also seems like he's just trying to destroy the uprising in general. Like as another reason why he wants to kill all the mutants. Like at some point, it's just not worth it. Like because he's obviously like ruthlessly exploiting them and controlling all of the resources on Mars. But at some point, it feels like the cost benefit analysis for him in his mind is like, you know what? Like let's just like Quado's dead. Like let's just completely kill off this uprising.
Just like Jeff Bezos, once he kills the unions, he's going to shut down those factories.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have
take away their air.
No, I mean the ruthlessness is fine. I mean that makes sense. I mean honestly, I was watching last night, I think, a video about this crazy water privatization scheme in Brazil that they were doing all this like bizarre kind of illegal maneuvering and sort of Bond villain stuff about it, and it's like so like what we've seen with Cohagen is like approximately on that level. It's not it's not very it's not very different. I will say that the actual mechanics of all this, like Andy just slowed it down a little bit, and I think I'm sort of good now, but they went on very quickly in the movie.
It really like fucks up your I guess the like it felt like the movie kind of was slower to start with, and then once they get to Mars, like it really like I couldn't possibly explain each setting that they were in because and the way that they get from setting to setting doesn't even like really make sense. You know what I mean? Like
doesn't matter.
1 second there.
Because it's a dream, of course, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, like I've seen this movie far too many times. The fact that I could just spout that off, but also, I am the resident Schwarzenegger expert.
I the other day I was at Walgreens, and they really are selling like air. Like it reminded me of the Perrier joke in Spaceballs. Like they were selling like I don't know if it's for I think it's for people who have like asthma attacks, but they're now selling like these things you like strap to your face and you like push it in and like you get an extra burst of air, and it actually is feeling kind of dystopic with that.
So
I met Bill Pullman once, by the way, and there's a video of Bill Pullman completely roasting me when I was trying to interview him. Nice. I gotta find that and pull it up one day on the show. I was at Woodstock Film Festival, and he released one of his movies, and like it was like for a college class, like one of the last college classes I took. We went and we like interviewed people for the YouTube channel on the Woodstock Film Festival, and I was and Bill Pullman was trying to explain, like, he was trying to explain this movie. So I was like putting out names of movies that were playing, and he was like, you know, I'm the one being interviewed, just so you know, just so you remember, like. And then afterwards,
that sounds, I don't know if it's online at all or where I can find it, but there is a video of Kenny Baker, the dwarf that they shoved into R2D2, and Sylvester McCoy, the Seventh Doctor, and Razagast from the Hobbit movies, roasting me because I'm tall. I set up Kenny Baker's mic stand just a little bit too high for him, because I didn't quite realize, you know, like it's hard to visualize these things because I never actually met him, and so I put it there. He couldn't quite reach the microphone. Put it down pretty low, but he still couldn't quite reach it. And then so Sylvester McCoy comes out and just drops it to the ground. He's like, "Can you reach it now?" And then they just start, you know, mocking me for being tall. And next thing you know, they're telling like short jokes and playing the harmonica and spoons. It was a surreal evening.
Nice.
Fair enough. All right. So Quaid reaches the reactor control room where Cohagen is waiting with a bomb, claiming that the reactor will destroy them all. Melina arrives and shoots Cohagen, but he starts the bomb timer. Quaid throws the bomb down a tunnel, leading to an explosive decompression. Quaid pushes Cohagen aside, blowing him out onto the Martian surface, where he suffocates and dies. Quaid managed to activate the reactor before he and Melina are also blown out. The rods deploy, sublimating the whatever. Releasing the air, which bursts the surface and forms a breathable planetary atmosphere
in like less than 30 seconds.
Apparently.
Yeah, the entire planet is suddenly Earth-like within 30 seconds. Just in time.
Well, it's a whole lot of air. You know?
The Mars's core of ice is very big.
Sure, it might take longer than 30 seconds to get all that out into the atmosphere, but yes.
But the stuff gets really hot.
Okay. Well, fair. Okay, fair
the
point.
Other thing is, while the reactor's going off, there's like people and like obviously, you know, this movie does have like a low key, but like, you know, it's there like commentary on class.
Yeah.
So there's like, at least on Mars, there's like the people just kind of enjoying their like hotel resort vacation while the reactor's going off.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I mean, also right. So like, you know, Cohagen is out in the Martian atmosphere, you know, and it just kills him, and
because he was out there for 20 seconds longer, so he just, you know.
Yeah, eyeballs are starting to pop. Fine.
They're fine. Yeah. Like no, you think you'd at least have like broken blood vessels in the eyes or something. I mean,
especially the way
something
so big.
Yeah.
It just turns you into like a weird animatronic. When Arnold's down there and like it's like the inflating head when he's like, you know, like he's been unexposed to air. It really felt like they were trying to do something with that head again. Like you know, they just wanted to bring it back one more time. They're like, all right,
I'm sure. The craftsmanship of all those animatronics was amazing. So they use it as much as you can. Yeah.
There was a Fangoria magazine around the time the movie came out, did an issue on this, and the cover was Schwarzenegger with his eyes all bulging out. Yeah. You know, because like you know, what else are you going to put on the cover of Fangoria? I kind of wish I had gone back to reread it. You know, or actually, I don't know. Did I read? Can't remember if I read it back in the day or not. But you know, I remember seeing that at like Kroger.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So the reactor rods deploy. Right. Okay. And forms a breathable planetary atmosphere. Quaid and Melina managed to survive their brief compression with the new breathable atmosphere, Venusville, and I think I forgot that it was called that, and the rest of Mars's population are saved. As everyone beholds the newly blue sky, Quaid momentarily pauses to wonder whether he is dreaming or not before turning to kiss Melina. And that is
and then it fades to white. I mean, and this is the part, like, this really speaks to it being a dream. I mean, Sunday Mars is perfect. It's beautiful. It's picturesque. Blue skies, clouds, like sunbeams shining through the clouds. Like it's just suddenly a gorgeous, amazing scene. And
great
then,
day to breathe.
Yeah, and then it's like he kisses well, kiss me before you wake up, and he kisses her, and it fades to white, which is like very much like a movie. Like when you fade to white, that's when you're waking up, right? So
yeah,
it's very.
No, they definitely, I mean, really leaned into the idea that it could be a dream. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm like in Verhoeven's head, like deciding whether or not it is a dream, because I feel like they leave plenty of clues. They leave, which is, you know, any good director, I guess, does. Like when there's an open-ended question, they make it so that it could be either part of the question, like the evidence piles up.
Absolutely, yeah. He's definitely being ambiguous about it, but I'm just gonna say 100% it's a dream. So
yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning that way at this point. There are a few things that make it seem there are a few things that make it seem undreamlike, but they are, certainly the point of view thing, a little bit the scene that we talked about earlier, in my mind at least. But it also seems like there are just a whole bunch of other things, pointing the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually like it's so smart that he did that and didn't answer the question.
Yeah,
because like a lesser filmmaker would want to answer the question.
Yeah, it's always better when the filmmaker doesn't give you the answer. For sure.
I mean, the funnier part, I guess, for me is that if it isn't a dream, the plot is nonsensical. Yeah. So it kind of like, if you are somebody, well, right. I mean, Verhoeven, I think is a brilliant director just in general. So maybe this doesn't apply to him necessarily, but like a lesser director would probably want to lean into the dream explanation, because otherwise the movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense in any capacity. And I feel like that really, I feel like Verhoeven, being willing to make like strange movies like this that don't always, like, everything doesn't always line up in a linear way, and he's willing to just fully lean into that, I think is what makes him such an amazing director. Because
I can't wait to hear you defend Hollow Man.
I haven't seen Hollow Man. That was the last movie he did in the US, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think after that he went back to Holland.
Yeah, it's not that good of a film. It really isn't.
Oh, that's the Invisible Man with
Kevin Bacon. With Kevin Bacon and all those pretty people.
Yeah, I barely remember that movie.
I rewatched it recently, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Oh, fair enough.
Schwarzenegger's not in it. I will.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I guess people can give their final thoughts. I guess I'll just very briefly say that I don't I think that as far as strange satirical Paul Verhoeven science fiction movies, I don't think it's in the top two, but it is its own it is its own thing, and I was not sorry to be watching it again. I mean, I really did enjoy this.
It's definitely, I mean, it's an enjoyable movie. I mean, like I even like, even if you're not, it's interesting. I think that Total Recall has a better reputation critically than even like Starship Troopers. Like, you know what I mean? Like there isn't, like, I think people are willing to go, you know what, like Total Recall, like maybe not the best movie like in a linear plot sense, but like, it's like a fun movie, like in a way that they were very much not willing to do at the time, at least with Starship Troopers or with RoboCop.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that can just be it's a Schwarzenegger movie, and people are happy to let Schwarzenegger movies be nonsensical and just be fun, right?
Yeah, and it was also like at the peak of Schwarzenegger's popularity. I mean, he had this amazing run from interest, and like they're all actually kind of interesting, like Predator, Running Man, Terminator 2, of course, the first Terminator. I'd even go as far as like some of the more forgotten ones, like Red Heat or Raw Deal, are actually really interesting films. I think Schwarzenegger and whoever he had hired to represent him back in the 80s and 90s just picked the right scripts at the right time, and up until Last Action Hero, which is a brilliant film.
Oh God, that's a good movie.
It was a flop, but it's great.
Yeah.
I would defend that, and I also am going to say Verhoeven actually does answer if the movie's real or not, because remember, Schwarzenegger goes, "You'll think I'm a hologram? I'm real."
Yeah.
Is this me?
No, I absolutely love this movie. Yeah, the hologram thing, we didn't even touch on that. It's so good. That's such a cool device.
Yeah.
Like they
Which
show that taking.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, they
sorry,
never show him get into like a hologram thing or whatever. Like he just kind of appears as a hologram. Like at least I didn't catch it if they did. Like
early on when he finds the briefcase, they show that there's this device that will just like create a hologram double of you.
Oh, see, I think
he slipped out in his pocket at the beginning of the film, and then you actually do see him put it on.
Yeah, so you're waiting the whole movie. You're waiting for the payoff. Like, when is he going to use this thing?
Yeah,
like, this is way too cool not to come back. And
and like they check off gunned it right.
Yeah.
And then they had that nice callback to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Great movie. I have a hard time ranking it. It's not one of his best satires, but just on the whole, I just love this. Half of it's probably Arnold, but I really fucking love this movie. It's just fantastic. I don't know. It's up there for me.
They said something interesting about Verhoeven and I forget the actor's name that was in RoboCop.
Peter Weller.
Yeah. So they made a comment about how they kind of designed, I guess, they designed the RoboCop suit based on like the Terminator like suit. So they designed it like almost as like a Schwarzenegger-esque like technical design, and then he ends up being able to work with Schwarzenegger for Total Recall. Is kind of a cool fact about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's because of RoboCop. Schwarzenegger saw that, had this script, and I don't know. I'm always curious, we don't know what version of script he had, because was it the O'Bannon script? Was it the Cronenberg? Because the final draft was done by the guy who wrote RoboCop.
Nice.
Who also wrote or helped write parts of Starship Troopers, right?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, the fun thing about the Cronenberg version was supposed to be more Indiana Jones, which is just kind of mind blowing. Of thinking of like Cronenberg doing Indiana Jones on Mars.
Yeah.
Get to the pyramid.
I like it. All right.
It belongs to the museum.
Oh crap! I was about to end, but we didn't actually get the good movie, bad movie.
Good movie.
Okay, very good.
Ryan said he liked it.
Yeah. All right. No. I just wanted to make sure we hadn't gotten hadn't skipped the capsule review. So fair enough. No, this is good. I'm glad that somebody asked the chat how come GTA is watching Total Recall, because if we did not, there's no way that I would have watched it. I would have watched Total Recall in the last week, and I'm glad that I did. Was
I the only one that just?
Yeah.
Was I the only one that just went?
Yeah, just for a second.
Yeah, it disappeared for a second.
Because it had everybody disappearing on my end for some weird reason.
Nope, you were the only one who disappeared on ours. So it's like one of those big things like trying to figure out whether Schwarzenegger is still in the Total Recall simulator. By the end of the movie, from your perspective, we all faded out. From our perspective, just you did. But in any case, good stuff. And should say before we go, Friday, Philosophy Friday topic to be announced, but very soon. And tomorrow, actually before that, we're showing my conversation with Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar from the Majority Report about the new book. So we're premiering that as a clip tomorrow. On Sunday, we are finally wrapping up the Zizek Peterson debate review.
In theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it all Jordan Peterson's dream? Is he still in the simulator? We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Is he still in a coma in Russia somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. It's still the dream where he's. Yep. I believe.
Paintbrush soft hammer.
Yeah, we're on day 7 of the Lobster Clock, by the way, and then we have on Monday our friend Ben Udashin is going to come on the show, and actually I don't have it with me, or I'd hold it up. We're going to be reading through this. Was it Huckabee product, the Kid's Guide to Fighting Socialism? So we're going to be going through that. Should be good stuff. Should be fun. So we'll see everybody for all of that. Left is best.
See you guys.